everyone, Diane here, welcome to my studio. Do you think that watercolor landscapes are too hard for you? Today I'm going to show you a way of using watercolor to create easy, beginner-friendly little paintings that will make you happy and crush the myth that landscapes have to be hard. I use this idea when I lack any kind of inspiration, and the good thing is you don't need to go searching online for ideas and you don't need any special materials. So let's get started. So first of all, I'm going to prepare my piece of paper that I'm going to be painting on, and then I'm going to explain to you exactly, what I do to get over this barrier. I've got here, this is a block of Meaden watercolor cold press paper. This is 5 by 7 inches. And I don't want to use all of it, and I want a border around the outside edges. So I'm taking my narrow masking tape, and I would suggest, to be honest, that you use masking tape, artist's masking tape preferably for this, because one of the things that makes these little paintings work is that they have a nice clean border around the outside edge. Now obviously you can use a mount on these paintings. If you don't have masking tape, you can paint to the edge, and some people actually like I do too, the irregular outside edge look. Sometimes that's exactly what you want, but this particular design, and let's face it, most of the time what we're doing here when we're creating our little paintings like this is we're doing a design, aren't we, really, rather than an absolute work of masterpiece art. Anyway, I'm going to make this landscape is going to be portrait format, that is to say taller than it is wide. Which is kind of more modern at the moment because, you know, shorts and all the rest of it, everything's in landscape, not in landscape format. It's all portrait. I don't know, we're very kind of self-centered these days, aren't we, human beings? Get rid of that bit of fluff. Right, so this idea, I've got my thing ready here, and I'll talk about the paints that I'm going to use and my brush and everything in a minute. What I'm hoping to do is to create something like this little landscape, and under the camera it looks actually quite complicated, but truly it isn't. And you can do so many different types, so many different designs. But how do you start? Well, this is suitable for beginners as well as for people who've painted for a while. And if you are an absolute beginner, then I would suggest that what you need to do first of all is get yourself a sketchbook and do some, you know, make some mess, something like this. And then do a dozen or so splotches on a piece of paper. And then you'll be able to use this as your starting point for the landscape that you're going to create. And I'll show you how that will work in a second. I'll put that to one side. But if you've been painting for a little while, you'll probably have a whole bunch of paintings that are not particularly good. I mean, come on, let's face it. I've been painting since I was about 3, which is coming on for 70 years now. Yes, I don't believe it either. I have at random, at the moment, I have in my hand here, I more or less at random pulled out a bunch of paintings I've got all my paintings in folders. Look, I'll show you. I'll just move the camera. These folders, these are just ordinary landscape document folders, and I've got them labelled. Those ones are flowers. Whoops, sorry. Animals. This is the landscapes one. And these are all the trials, the failures, but I don't throw anything away because you never know when it's going to come in handy. So here we are back again on the desk. So I've picked out a almost completely random selection here. And if I quickly was to go through them, you can see what I mean. Some of these are absolute copies of other people's work that I did when I was learning. Some of them are completely my own. Some of them are hideous, but they're all good inspiration. Now what I'm going to do today, I have a piece of copy paper here. This is printer paper, and I have roughly cut out a rectangle in the piece of paper, which is approximately the size of the painting that I want to do, okay? And then, or if you have a piece of mount board that's got the right size hole in it, then that would work even better. I didn't look, I probably have, but I didn't look. I just used a piece of paper. And then you go through your paintings, and you'd be surprised actually when you put the border down on a part of your painting, it sharpens your focus. It brings your eye in and says to you, oh, actually, you know, at the end of the day, we could do something like this from that, can't we? So there's one that would work. And this one, I mean, this is nothing. This is just a scribble, but put your border on it and you can see that you could make a painting out of that. One of these kinds of paintings, right? So that's what I suggest that we do. That one is a little bit more of a stretch, but it has got some ideas there. You could, yeah, you see, it would work. So the only problem you have now is deciding which one to pick, because all of these have got something going for them. See, that format, I think, is much better than the whole painting. Now, you can disagree if you want, but please don't say these paintings are any good, because they aren't. And they are just practice paintings, and they are old. And this one, I don't know, I haven't got dates on most of these, but you can see it's going brown and blotchy and so on. I mean, this is probably, it's even got dots where the sizing has been damaged by exposure to light or damp or something. This one is, I would probably guess 30 or 40 years old. This one, I know exactly when I painted this. This was in 2001 or 2, when I'd just come back to live in England from having been in the Bahamas. And so was this. This was about the same time too. This is watercolor and oil pastels, which are very difficult to control. But if you were to take your little doodah and just put it over, you can see that there's quite a lot of potential there for something. I mean, the whole thing is ugly, but take a section and you could get quite excited by that, and you could make something of that by copying your own work. You had the inspiration once, don't waste it. That would be what I would say. So, and then if you haven't got much in the way of material behind you because you are relatively new, find a piece of something like that where you're practicing your colours and just select out something that looks as if it might be copyable. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get started. And I'm not quite sure which one to choose. I think I'll probably go with this one because that was the first one that I looked at, and, you know, I always believe in going with number one if you can. So let's put that there so we can see. I mean, you can have it quite high up like that. So your horizon line is here. We can make this bit into trees and this bit into the sky, this bit into the land, and this is the foreground. And in order to achieve that look in the foreground here, I'm going to use a piece of candle. This is candle wax. This is wax because it's a candle. So I'm going to use that down at the front there. So we'll do that in a minute. So I'll put that over there like that. I don't know if you want to be able to see it. Perhaps you do. So I could put it like that. And I've got my paints here. This is my custom set that I put together in 2025. It is Michael Harding in the middle here, and this is Paul Rubens and Paul Rubens in these two rows mostly, with a few Holbein, Old Holland and Quor. And I've put the complete list of all these paints in the description below. So if you, by any remote chance, wanted to buy any of these colours or even put together the same set, should you decide to go completely crazy and become a mad fan, you can use the links in the description below to take you to Amazon so you could buy the paints. But there's a few here that I think are a really good and useful addition, especially for doing a painting somewhat like this, which is these neutrals up here, these light coloured neutrals. I've got Warm White, that's from Michael Harding. I've got Jaune Brilliant, which is from Holbein, and I've got Buff Titanium, which is from Daniel Smith. I didn't mention them, did I? But it is. And these three are three colours that I didn't used to ever use, but nowadays I do find them very useful, especially for florals and doing little birds and all that kind of thing, and especially for this kind of landscape. And I'll show you me using one of those colours when I do this painting here. Here we've got Azo Yellow, Hansa Yellow, and what was the other one I wanted to say? Oh, Shell Pink. Shell Pink is another colour that you could use Potter's Pink too, actually, but I don't think I've got any at the moment. I must get some more. Shell Pink is another Holbein colour. And I've got here Primatech Piemontite here, which is a granulating colour, which is really, really good. And I've also got, but I didn't put it in here, I've got the granulating Hematite, which is over here as an extra. And that's also very useful for this kind of painting. So there we are. That's a quick rundown of what I've got over there. And let's do the next thing then, which is what brush I'm going to use. I do like my Princeton Aqua Elites. I don't think you can do much better than that, to be honest. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 12 probably. In fact, I might not even need to go down a size. I've got an 8 here, which probably would be okay too, but any brush would work. I mean, this is an ABS Kolinsky Sable, which has got a nice point too. That would work. That's a size 8, as I said. Any brush really. So don't worry if you haven't got a Princeton Aqua Elite. It won't stop you from being able to paint. I'm going to take a pencil and I shall put a line about, just about 1/5 of the way up, I would say, on this one. And this is up to you as well. Some of these paintings have more landscape, some of them have more sky. This one I'm going to do just the basic hill down here and then a row of trees. This is not trees, this is meant to be a bank of clouds, but we'll turn that into some trees. And then we've got the sky up above. Okay, so that's how that looks at the moment. Now, I could do it on an angle like that too if I wanted to, but I think we'll probably stick with parallel at the moment, parallel to the bottom edge, something like that. Maybe a bit higher up I had it, something like that. Okay, so this is where the distant line of the horizon is and the trees above. So I'm going to take some water, and because I've got masking tape all the way around the outside and I've made sure I've smoothed that down quite thoroughly as well, and we'll wet quite reasonably generously. I'm not going to try to float a boat on here, but we'll do it reasonably generously and try not to make any gaps or leave any gaps. And we'll take that down to my little dotted line, which indicates the horizon. Now, the sky is the limit, so to speak, as far as painting your sky is concerned. Any colour will do. I've got purple here. I've got pink. This is actually a mixture of different pinks. This is a mixture of shell pink and buff titanium, I think. This has got hematite in it, which has given this granulating effect here. And I think that's more or less burnt sienna. This one, I think, is phthalo blue, very light phthalo blue. And this one here This one here is, that is mauve. That is a sort of Windsor violet kind of colour mixed with, I think that was mixed with this colour here, which is, can't read it, neutral tint. Yes, neutral tint. So yeah, all sorts of possibilities. I'm going to, for this one, I'm going to pick up a little bit of buff titanium, I think, for the background to the sky. And I'm just going to drop that in. Go from side to side a little bit like that. And then I'm going to try to mimic these colours as much as I can, because that's one of the whole points, which I didn't really kind of mention. One of the problems about when you start to paint a landscape or whatever is deciding what colours to use. And the last thing you want to do actually is try to reproduce the colours that you see out there. Choose colours that coordinate with one another and that you like, and don't pay any attention to what's actually out there. That would be my advice. I've really gone so far away from the whole idea of painting a landscape that looks like something specific. No, not anymore. I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm just going to drop in some, this is ultramarine blue with a little bit of, I think that might be burnt sienna. So we'll do that. And then I'm going to leave a little bit of white. I'm going to let it blend a little bit. And then as we come down, we'll lift some of that out. It looks most unpromising at this stage, but you have to have a little bit of faith. Okay. And then I'm going to do the trees, and we'll pick up some green here. I think this is a mixture of this one here, which is perylene green. This one mixed with a bit of blue. So I'll put a little bit more of that there, and then mix it down a bit, and then we'll come in here with our tree bank, and we'll just go irregularly across like that. You see how I'm just using the paintbrush to dab downwards, and then we'll pick up a darker green, and we'll go along and we'll pump in some colour, which will blend. And you will remember that I did a painting very similar to this, the very, very, very first painting that we put up on the channel, which was December, I think it was December the 22nd, 2019. Yeah, that's right. And if you go back and have a look, you'll see it's a very, we had taken it down actually because it was pretty, amateurish. I did it all by myself before we even knew we were going to have a channel. And yeah, but it was a bit like this. Actually, it looked a lot like, hang on, interruption here. It looked a lot like this one. It wasn't this painting. This is one I did either before or after, but it was a lot like that. So having got our green in there, I'm going to come across and I'm just going to do a kind of jumping up into the trees. So we have a clean line here going across and a little bit of kind of reflection or shadows going down. And while that's messing around, finding its way in life, I shall take my candle, and down here at the bottom, I'm going to try to put in some rocks like that. And that acts as a kind of resist, so the paint doesn't go in very well there. And then I'll pick up a little bit of blue and I'll just brush that in like that. And probably pull up into the green and let that join a little bit. And so this really, at this point in time, probably could do with drying, and we might leave it for a little while to do that. I might just lift a little bit of that green out. It's a little bit too strong, and I might add in maybe a little bit of this hematite, because you do need contrast. So it's sometimes quite a good idea, while it's still wet, just to put in kind of strong line somewhere. Okay, and like I say, at this point in time, it doesn't really look like very much, but we have to let it mix and mingle a little bit, and then we come back and do the finishing touches. Okay, that's dry now, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a water layer across the trees, and then I'm going to drop in at the bottom. We'll pump in some more colour. The main thing is to vary it, and where you see it's a little bit darker already, that's where you want to add more darkness. Not where it's lighter, but where it's darker. And that will give you a more realistic kind of effect, or a more pleasant effect. And you could have left a gap there, a lower gap. That might have looked better, but it's okay. And then I'll pick up a bit more of my black, my hematite, and just drop that in again along the bottom edge there. Just a thought, actually, I just realised as I'm using this big brush to do this painting, one of the reasons why some people prefer to switch to a smaller brush when they're doing details is simply because it uses less paint, because inevitably you will have to wash the paint off of the brush, and obviously that is going to, you could say, waste paint. So that is a point. And I'm just doing a few dots here to use up a bit more of the paint across my relief rocks. Okay, just really nothing specific. And then I think I'll probably leave it. I'm a bit loath to do too much in the way of dark lines across the middle, because sometimes that spoils the whole simple effect. You just want to keep on adding things, but actually you probably shouldn't. So I'll dry that. And the next thing to do, naturally, is to take off the tape, which is always the fun bit. And see what we've achieved. And another thing I wanted to say about painting for people who are new especially is don't be afraid to do the same painting more than once. Don't think that every time you pick up a paintbrush you've got to create a brand new masterpiece. And I mean, I've painted about 10 of these little paintings in the last 2 days, and I'll probably paint another 10 tomorrow. And that's the only way to get better at it. The other thing also is to remember to leave them overnight before you make any judgment as to whether or not you're pleased with it, or even whether or not it's acceptable. Because by the next day, there's a certain amount of movement that continues to go on, even if you've put the hairdryer on it, and even if you've left it for quite a while. you will get other effects coming out. And as you can see here, where I re-wet the area, that's a back run. And that actually has turned out to be a good thing, because it looks like a mountain or a big hill in the distance with trees and things. So it's all just like kind of misty, which is really quite nice. And I didn't do that on purpose, that just happened. But you can see this is the original, right? And this was what I selected as, I'm not very good with my left hand, as the, the bit I was going to repaint. And I said I would turn these bits into trees and hills in the background rather than the clouds. And that's what I've done. And I'm not unhappy with that. I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope it gives you some inspiration. I wanted to ask you a favor, please. If you could possibly go and visit our other channel, which Tamsin, my daughter, has been working on for quite a while. It's at From the Garden, and put an @ in front of there when you type it into your search box. And I'll put a link in the description below. Over there, you will find lots and lots of videos of the countryside, of flowers, of landscape, of animals. And they are also really good inspiration for your paintings. And it's a great idea to take a screenshot from a video, and you haven't totally got our permission to do as much of that as you want with our stuff. Take a screenshot, print it out, and then use this technique to select a portion of it. And you've got your composition all ready for you to go and enjoy. So there is that. And I think that's about all I wanted to say. So I will let you go, and I will see you again soon. And thank you, everybody, for your wonderful support, for all your comments, and for all of your patronage and your membership of YouTube, and all the generous donations and purchases using Amazon when you want to buy things. If you use one of our links to go to Amazon, anything that you buy, once you've used that link, we get our tiny little commission, and that really helps keep the wheels turning. So that's all good stuff. So I'll say bye-bye for now, and I'm going to paint some more of these because I think they're rather fun, don't you? And let's get started. Bye, everybody. See you again soon. Bye-bye for now.